Hello, everybody. A lot of people will think that it costs a lot of money to eat healthy, but it doesn't have to cost a lot of money at all. And for years, I thought, unless I'm growing my own greens, how am I going to get food? But the more I got into sprouting, I knew about sprouting for a long time, but the more I got into it, I realized how easy it is to sprout and also how inexpensive it is. Now, there's two ways to sprout. There's sprouts and there's microgreens. And I sprout a good amount of legumes all the time. It's so simple. You pretty much take some seeds and you soak them overnight, and you have some type of mesh cover on this. And then the next morning, you turn it upside down and you let all the water drain out. And you leave it turned upside down on your countertop or in a plate or in the sink. You leave it turned upside down, and twice a day you rinse the seeds. And once you rinse the seeds, you're done. That's it. That's all you got to do. And in about 4 or 5 days, you have these beans, which become sproutable. And then you can consume them in salads and things like this. And they are loaded with nutrition. That's where, as a raw vegan, I get a good amount of my protein from. And so many nutrients that you could find in beans, but it's not the ideal thing to cook beans because it makes them harder to digest. But if you get them in a sprouted form, you still have the enzyme, so it makes it even easier to consume them. So that is sprouts. Now, microgreens are another thing. It seems more complicated, but it doesn't have to be, and it's not necessarily more complicated. When you do microgreens, basically, you still want to soak whatever you're growing to a microgreen. You want to soak it, and you also hear some sunflower seeds that are soaking. So a sprout will stay looking like the bean with a little tail at the end. So if you're just doing sprouts, you get the bean and a little tail at the end, and that's what it will look like. And they're edible, and they're going to be soft. It should never be hard. If it's too hard, then they didn't soak long enough. But a microgreen is different. This is a microgreen. And a microgreen is this was one time a sunflower seed, and you could soak the sunflower seeds in soil or in water and then let them soak, and this seed will pop out a little sprout. And you let it sprout for about a week, and then it turns into this. This is one of the most nutritional, inexpensive, healthiest foods you could eat. And today I'm going to show you how to do the microgreens in soil that you could do in your house. This is why I say everyone can grow their food, no matter where they live, no matter how much land they have, because this is microgreens. Now, there's some foods that will grow better as a microgreen than others, and there's charts online, and my website talks about them. But sunflower sprouts, pea sprouts, and also broccoli sprouts, and also buckwheat sprouts are some of the easiest things to grow microgreens out of. Everything else, it takes a little bit more work, or at least knowledge to grow other things. But these are the common things, and that's all you need. So the only things I tend to do on a regular basis is sunflower, pea, and also broccoli. The rest I'll just do sprouts. But when it comes to these, I love to do the microgreens. So here is a sprout bag. I just put 2 cups of sunflower seeds in here, and I soak them for 4 hours. On other seeds, like the pea sprouts, you can soak as long as you want overnight. But for me, what works best is 4 hours on the sunflower seeds. Now, I have these trays here. I have one tray here that has holes in it, and I'll put a link below where you can buy these. And then the other tray is no holes. So you see those holes there, and you see no holes there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one tray, the tray on the top, into this tray. And so now you have the holes, the tray with the holes in the tray with no holes. And that's important because later on when you water these, you just lift up one tray and you water the bottom, and the roots that grow out of the bottom of this tray, that's how they're getting their water. So this is my sunflower seeds. Now let me say, this process, the amount of days and how long it takes is going to be different based on how much lighting you have, how much time you have, and the environment you're in. So it's not always the exact same microclimate as it is in my kitchen. So you might have to adjust it a little based on those things, but pretty much this is the formula that's been working for me. Now we get some soil. And the soil I use is just a traditional outdoor potting soil, outdoor/indoor potting soil. That's what I use, and I've been using it successfully. I also have used just regular topsoil, and it's been successful. So you don't really need to add much to it because it's not going to be sitting in there and grow to a big plant. It's just going to take about a week to 10 days, and then you're going to have your sprouts. But I would recommend some sort of potting soil, indoor or outdoor potting soil, or if it's much cheaper, you could find topsoil. But experiment and see what you find, and then use it. So here, I just put the trays together, and I just put dirt. Now this is 3 trays. So you've got 3 trays here, and I just put the dirt into each tray. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another tray, and I'm going to put it on top and press it just to get the soil nice and flat in the tray. So I want to make sure it's nice and even. And if it's not, you can always add a little bit, put it in there, add a little to get the ends. All right, so that's it. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to just press these trays to get it nice and even. And then here, and you just press these trays nice and even. So there you go. Now, from there, I'm going to take my seeds and I'm going to just put them on top of this. And today I'm doing 2 types. I got 2 trays of sunflower, and this, what I showed you, this is 1 tray of pea sprouts. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So okay, so for the rest of the video, I'll have 2 hands free. I just lowered it like that. So here we go again. I'm going to press this down so it's nice and even. And I'm doing this in my yard, but you could do this inside your house as well. You just take the dirt off the side so it doesn't fall off. But I got 3 trays here. So I'll just show you how I do it. I'll do the middle tray. So this is my soaked sunflower seeds. And the reason why I have it in a sprout bag is if you leave it in a bottle, they tend to rise to the top. But I put it in a sprout bag, and I dunk this in the water, and I put a little weight on top of it so it stays underwater. Remember, 4 hours only on the sprouts, on the sunflower seeds. Soak them for 4 hours. And the other seeds could be longer, but for some reason, sunflower likes 4 hours for the best. Okay, so I just pour this out. So these are the soaked sunflower seeds that I soaked 4 hours ago. And I just evenly spread them out on the tray, right on top of the soil. You might see people doing this in different variations of how they do it. This is the way that's been working for me. Okay, you want them evenly spread out. You want to make sure you get the corners. And these you can get the same place you get the trays, or online at any sprouting place. You can get the sprouting bag, and you can get the seeds as well. These are black oil sunflower sprouts. So these are the ones that I have found to be the best for doing this. Okay, so there it's evenly spread out. I'll go ahead and I'll do it again, and I'll show you here. I'm going to evenly spread these out. There's so many people online that have videos showing how they do this. And some people say the temperature in a room makes a difference, but I think the most important thing is to have a fan on them after they start growing. So I got that. And now I'll show you the pea sprouts, how I do these. So I already drained this. Again, this is 2 cups of pea sprouts. Now, after it sprouts, it's going to become more than 2 cups because they expand. But when I measure it, it's 2 cups on this size tray. So this is a standard size tray. Well, not a tray. This is the size of the tray. And it's a skinny one. Some people use thicker trays, but I don't. I'll put the exact measurements of this tray in the description. But that's it. So 2 cups for me is enough. And you can use any mason jar to soak the seeds. I just use that jar. But here you go. You spread it out evenly. And that's it. Now we're going to water this. And when you water this, you want to make sure you get enough water, but not too much. But it's easier to underwater than overwater because these are going to sit for 3 days. So you want to make sure you give it enough water. So I'm going to get my hose here. And I'm going to go ahead and water these. Again, you could do this in your kitchen if you don't have a yard. Okay. Remember, it's going to sit for 3 days, so you want to give it enough water. Okay. That's it. Now I'm going to take one of the trays without a hole. This one has the holes, the tray without the hole. And I'm just going to simply put it right on top. Then I have these trays here without a hole. I'm going to put this one on top. And then this one on top. Now, you're not turning it upside down. You're putting it on this way, this regular way. And that's it. Now, there's several things you could do different. You could put a weight on top of this and just let it sit for 3 days, 3 or 4 days. Or you could stack them on top of each other, and the weight of each one is going to weigh itself. And then you could put a tray on top of that. So either way, or whatever works for you. So you basically just let this sit for 3 days. Now, some people, like after 3 days, because you want to make it dark so they can grow. And some people like to turn the tray over after 3 days. I have not found that's necessary. Now, the only thing difference here with the sunflower sprouts versus the pea sprouts is the pea sprouts don't need a weight. You could put one on there, but they don't really need one. The sunflower sprouts definitely need a weight. So I take a brick, or several bricks, and I put them right on top of that. So I'm going to show you now inside how I do it, and you just let it sit for 3 days, maybe 4 days. What's going to happen is you don't want to keep lifting it up. You don't want to keep checking it. If it's very humid or in your house, if it's very dry, if you do pick it up, you could spray it maybe, but you really don't need to do that. If you're having problems with mold or something, then maybe spray it every now and then. But for first, just leave it. Just leave it for 3 days. Don't touch it. Now, what's going to happen on the pea sprouts and even the sunflower sprouts with the weights, the tray is going to start rising a little. Even with the weights, they say if you stand on top of this, it'll still rise. And I put some heavy weights in it and they still rise. But they start rising. The pea sprouts, it doesn't rise as much, but 3 or 4 days, then it's time to take it off, and you'll see these peas become sprouts. They grow little tails. So you take all of these off when it's done, and we'll do that in the process. And then you top water it after you take these off after 3 or 4 days, and you let them sit. Now, I have lights that I put them under. They say you don't need the lights. As long as it's light in your kitchen, it's good enough. But I have lights. And then after you take this off, you water them on the top. And then after that, you put them on the tray. And then 2 or 3 times a day, you just water the bottom tray. So as you see, there's 2 here, right? So you would just water the bottom tray after that. And the roots will get it from the bottom. So you only really need to water the first time up top, and a good amount, because remember, they had just sat without any water for 3 days. So I'm going to go put these on the shelf with no light, nothing. I want to keep it dark. And then after 3 days, I'll uncover them and I'll make another video showing you what the next process is. Put your comments and questions below. The links will be below where to get the sprouting information, the bottles, the seeds, and all of that. So put your comments below, and I will wait 3 days, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Okay, everybody, so here is the trays I got. Here's the light I was saying I had. I'll put a link below where you can get those. And if you want, you don't have to turn them on now, but I'll show you how it looks when you turn them on. So when you turn them on, it certainly does add a good amount of light, but you don't need those. And even if you have the light, you don't turn those on now. So here's the sunflower sprouts, and I'm going to put some weights on the top of this. I chose to stack them. That's 1. That's 2. All right, So that is my sunflower sprouts. I don't have to stack them if you just do one tray, but I chose to stack them. Now here's the pea sprouts. I didn't stack these at all. I didn't put anything on top of it. I'll just let those be. And you could put a little weight on top of this. You don't need as much weight, but you don't need it. And this is a tray I did this morning. This is broccoli sprouts, which pretty much you do in a similar way, but when you put the tray on, you just turn it upside down so it stays dark. And that's all the broccoli growing. So in about 3 days, we'll take a look and we'll see how this is. And we'll uncover them, turn on the lights, water them again, and see how it goes. All right, everybody, today's the day I took the covers off of everything. It's been 3 days, and we're gonna take a look at everything. So this is the broccoli sprouts. So after 3 days, they're gonna look like this, and all you have to do with the broccoli sprouts, after you take the cover up, there's a spray bottle. Just spray it from the top. That's it. That's all you do. And as you see, the tray with the holes is in the solid tray. So starting tomorrow, I'll put water under there in that tray. Here now are the pea sprouts. Now, when I took the cover off this, I watered the top of this. I watered it really well. And I'll do that 2 times the first day. Actually, 1 time the first day. And then the next day, which is tomorrow, I'll go in the bottom here and I'll put water in the bottom several times a day, depending on where you live and how much humidity there is in the weather. You just want to make sure it doesn't get too dry in the second tray. So there's actually 3 trays there, but in the second tray, you see the roots starting to come through. That's what's we're gonna wet in the future. So it hasn't been watered for 3 days now, so that's why I watered from the top 1 more time. And now the roots are growing in the bottom, so I will just put water in the bottom several times a day. And here's our sunflower sprouts. There's 2 trays of sunflower sprouts. Now when you do the sunflower sprouts and you open it up, it might have some white fuzzy stuff, or it might have mold. If you have mold, it's a good sign you might have watered too much. If there's no growth, it's a sign you might have watered too little before you put them in for 3 days here. So what I did is I took the covers off. I watered the tops really well because I haven't drank for 3 days. And starting tomorrow, the same thing like the pea sprouts. I'll put water in the bottom tray, and I'll show you when I do that. And I'll do that several times throughout the day to make sure it doesn't get too dry there. So maybe 3 or 4 times a day I'll do that. And I got these lights on. Some people say it's not necessary for the lights, but I have them anyway. And the other thing I got is I got a fan. So I'm going to put the fan in front of this to make sure there's airflow. So that's how it actually looks. I want to make sure there's airflow so it doesn't give any opportunity for mold to form. So the fan's going to get all of that. And that's pretty much it. And these first few stages, it's very important. The fan really does help. But it also might dry it faster, so you might have to water a little bit more. And you'll see how this grows. Amazing. Now this is even too much for me. This will last me a week. The 2 sunflower, if I juice every day, it'll last me a week in my salads as well. And then the pea and the broccoli. I've done more, I've done other things, but these are the 3 main things I like to do. Sunflower, pea sprouts, and broccoli sprouts. I also do broccoli sprouts in the bottle. So that's sprouts. These are more broccoli microgreens. These are pea microgreens, and these are sunflower microgreens. I just do microgreens on the peas and the sunflower. And on the broccoli, I do these microgreens, and I also do broccoli sprouts. All right, I will come back and show you tomorrow when I water them. All right, now it's later, and I'm about to shut the lights up for the night. Yes, and I do shut the lights every night, and I put them on in the morning. So I'm going to water this first because it hasn't been watered only one time today. So this is how you do it. Okay, so one tray's in the other, so I'm just picking this up, and you can see the roots right there. So I put water in there, and then I put it down, and now they're getting watered from the bottom, and then I do the same thing right here. I pick this up. I do the same thing with all of them. This is the broccoli, so I pick the tray up, and I water it. You see the water there in that tray, and it's feeding the roots in the bottom. So the first time I water everything on top of the broccoli, I always water from the bottom, and I might mist it from the top every day. So that's the way you do it. All right, everybody, here's an update. This is, I believe, day 5, maybe day 6. Everything's growing great. The broccoli sprouts, the pea sprouts, and then the 2 trays of sunflower sprouts. Now, so a couple of things to look out for. I just shut the light for the video, but I've learned how to get them to grow this way, and they're doing great. When do you harvest them is a question people get. I like them to grow, at least the pea sprouts and the sunflower sprouts, I like them to grow a little taller. Usually 7 days is a good time for the pea and the sunflower sprouts. The broccoli sprouts, these are actually ready now. They're not going to grow much taller than that, or I don't like them to do, but these are ready now to harvest. So that's what gives you an example of the size of the broccoli sprouts. Now, you can do broccoli sprouts out of soil, and that's one thing I do also. But these, again, all of these, we call them sprouts, but they're really microgreens. And on the sunflower sprouts, when they get this size, if you don't water them enough, they tend to droop. So that's something to keep in mind. They might droop if they don't water enough. Also, if you didn't put the air on them, a fan or something, and they develop mold, it might only be one area. The other areas might still be fine. So if that's the case, don't throw out the whole tray. Just cut out that area that might have been affected. But if you put the air on, especially at the beginning, a fan on it, and you water it enough, you shouldn't have any problem with drooping or mold. And overwatering is a possibility, but uncommon. It's more common to underwater. So I've already watered these today. One time I'm going to water again. I think this is like day 5. So these should be ready in 1 or 2 more days, and I'll show you how I harvest them. And these broccoli sprouts, later today or tomorrow, I will harvest as well. All right, so we'll be back, and I'll show you how I harvest these. One more thing here to consider. Right now I shut the light off so I can make this video and it'll look better. Some people suggest or say you don't need extra light if you have good lighting in your kitchen. My light's actually off in this area, so it's not as light. But when you turn the lights on, look at the difference. And these lights are not expensive. And this shelving is not expensive. I mean, it's expensive, but considering what you're getting out of them, it's not expensive. But I put 2 lights for each shelf. They sell them, I'll put a link below, for a pack of 6. So I got 3 shelves, pack of 6. And this planting here I only have 2. And that's all I really need of the microgreens, and the sprouts I do often in bottles on my counter. Now, some people, they only have 1 light up here. And they say that's enough. And it very well can be enough. In just my experience, I was told and follow 2, and it's been working for me. So now's a crucial time for me to make sure I keep watering these so they don't droop. If they droop, don't throw them out. If they droop, get some water on them right away, and they will perk back up. Not immediately, but you'll see, like, if this was droopy here, and I put water, maybe the next morning or that evening, you'd see a couple hours later it would perk back up. But at this stage, it's crucial to make sure you're getting enough water in the bottom shelves. So I watered that earlier. See, it's kind of dry now. See, I want to make sure those roots get water. So I'm going to put more water in it right after I shut this camera off. You want to make sure you keep them well watered. at all times, but especially at this stage, right before you're ready to harvest. Okay, everybody, today's the final day for the sprouts. Just show you what's going on. I'm going to shut the light just to show you what's happening here. You can see it much better now. And that gives you an example of how much it lights up the area. I can turn the house light on here. And that might be more of an example of how it would be without the light. Again, some people say they grow sprouts without a light, but look at it with the light. So I definitely recommend a light. Maybe you don't need to put two on each shelf, but I do. So let's move the fan here for a moment and we'll see how it's looking. Everything's ready to be harvested here. So I think it's been about 7 days since we last did this. Got your pea sprouts. I already cut a few here today. Broccoli sprouts and your sunflower sprouts. So just shake these up, make sure the sunflower sprouts come off. So we're gonna cut these. They're ready to be cut. And I'm excited. And pretty much it's that simple. That's how simple it is to make these. Now I'll cut them, I'll put them in a plastic bag, and I'll leave them in the refrigerator for, they'll last up to a week in the refrigerator. Of course, you want to eat them as soon as possible. As a matter of fact, I might wait 1 day to cut one more tray. But everything else I'm going to cut right now, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, everybody, these are the pea sprouts, and they are ready to be cut. So basically, I'm going to go as low as possible here. Now, some people ask about scissors, but I heard it's not good to use scissors on the sprouts because they don't last as long because the way they're cut. But you want to take a sharp knife and come as close to the bottom as possible so you're not wasting anything. And I'll show you that now. All right, everybody, so we want to come as close to the bottom as possible. And pretty much, you might get some dirt at the bottom, so you want to not go all the way to the dirt, but as close as you can possible without getting any dirt. So you just take a handful of that, and you get a Ziploc bag, and that's it. And then you're just going to fill this bag up. And the pea sprouts are the easiest to grow and also to harvest. And what we're doing now is it's called a harvest. So this is the bottom of the pea sprout, and that's what we're not going to be eating. We're going to take the microgreens, which this is called the microgreen. And that's the edible. That whole thing is edible. It tastes fine. If you let it grow too long, it might not taste as good, but this is it. And you just continue to lay it in the bag. So if there's any peas hanging there, you just want to take it off. And beautiful, healthy food. It doesn't have to be expensive to eat this way. And you could use this in juice. You could use this in a salad. Growing food inside the house. And then once I finish cutting it, I'll show you how it's going to look on the tray. All right, so I was able to fill the whole tray up with one bag. The sunflower sprouts, you can even fill more than a bag, maybe 2 bags with one tray. So that's that. And then this is what's left over. And this basically you just throw out. If you have a compost pile, see there's all the roots and there's the dirt. You could reuse the dirt, but you can't just water this again and let it grow back again. So you gotta do something to get rid of these. Unless you have a big company, this shouldn't be a problem. Throw them in the corner of the yard, or I like to save them in a compost bin and possibly let it compost up into soil and then reuse the soil later on. So that is the pea sprouts. Okay, these are the broccoli sprouts. Look how great that looks. Or the broccoli microgreens. I keep saying sprouts, but the broccoli microgreens. And we're going to cut this. Get a nice bag here. This is probably one of the most healthiest foods on the planet. So this one, you got to be careful not to get dirt when you cut it, because it's much finer than the pea sprouts. And see how some dirt can come up? So you don't want to get too close to the dirt. But that's it. Look at that. All right, so put that here. So this one, you're not going to be able to get as low, because you don't want to pick up any dirt. But it's just, look how beautiful that is. I mean, the kitchen smells like a juice bar. So like I said, you can grow these broccoli sprouts or these broccoli microgreens in just a bottle. You don't even need dirt for them. And that's what a lot of people do. I do it both ways. It's a little different nutrient complex if you do it in a dirt versus in a jar, but they're both excellent and beneficial. One's not necessarily better than the other. Now this would sound intimidating, but to do this, but I just showed you all how easy it was to do. So these broccoli sprouts are very nutritious and got a lot of media, and because of that, they might cost a lot more money if you're going to buy them in a store. But look, a whole bag here or half a bag of these of broccoli sprouts, and completely inexpensive. So we're going to move this over, and I'll just show you here. This one we didn't cut as low, so it might still have a little of the stems left. But we dispose the dirt the same way, put it in a compost bin or something. And then finally, we have the king of microgreens. These are the sunflower sprouts. And there still might be some shells in there. If you just shake them, they fall off. And it's not a big deal at all. And we're going to cut the sunflower sprouts. These would be more challenging for people to grow, if anything, but not challenging when you follow the methods I say. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. It's a perfect size. Everything here came out perfect. And you can get as low as you can with these, just like the pea sprouts. I'm just filling up the bag here. I'm cutting these here. So you're going to get more than just a bag here. You're going to get, like I said, maybe 2 bags. Look at that. Maybe 2.5 bags. So sometimes you might have to take the seeds off if they didn't fall off when you were growing them. I already have a bag of sunflower sprouts, and I still have almost a half a tray, if not more, left. So you don't need a lot. Like I said, for most people, if you're not juicing, I mean, 1 tray can last a family a week. And then when you take in consideration all the other sprouts that you can make in a jar, you don't need a big garden or a lot of land outside. There's nothing wrong with that, but you don't need that to grow. And if you broke down the cost of this, you'd be shocked to see how inexpensive it is to do this. Look. That's the most nutritional food you can get right there. I'm going to try to stuff this into the bag because, all right, look at that. All right, there it is. And then the same thing. You just take this and throw it outside in the garden or save it in a compost bin. Look at that, folks. 2 bags of sunflower sprouts, pea sprouts, and broccoli sprouts. And look, I still got a whole nother tray of sunflower sprouts that I'll harvest tomorrow. Amazing. So that's how we grow sprouts. Put your comments and questions below. All right, everybody, so this is what I do. I got this compost bin here, and you could do this with so many different things. Take that off. And I have this filled with all the dirt that I put in previous trays. Look, it comes off just like that. And I'll clean the trays and get ready for the next batch. But this whole pile here is going to break down into soil that at a later date I can reuse for this sprouting and microgreens, or I could just throw this in the garden next season and it'll be fine. This bin is full. We'll just get another one and do it again. That's that. And then here we go. That's it. That's simple. And then there you go. So for any of you that are thinking about growing sprouts, I hope this video helped you understand and have a more clear idea of how to grow sprouts and microgreens, and try it and let me know how it works for you. All right, everybody, thank you for checking that out. That is my sprouts and how I grow sprouts here. Now, I'm going to give you a bonus. Not everyone grows sprouts the same way. As I said, some people grow it differently. And pretty much you got to look at your environment and you got to figure out what works best for your situation. But hopefully what I gave you is a good starting point of where you could start and how you could do it. Now, here's the bonus. I recently went out to my friend at Gratitude Farms, who has a business selling sprouts, and he does it a little bit different. So he's going to show us how he does it. And I'm not showing you this to confuse you. I'm showing this to just show you there's little differences in the way you do it. And like he's going to mention, the type of soil you use matters also. So let's hear what he has to say, and then I'll show you the soil. This is Gratitude Farms. This is their sprout operation. They just harvested it. They have all these shelves here. And what kind of sprouts are you growing here?
So right now it's a Friday, and we harvest everything for the markets tomorrow. So that's why it's disaster right now. But this is the next sprouts coming up for next week. So I grow 4 micros. I grow sunflower, pea, broccoli, and radish. Those are the 4 I've been growing for about 15 years. And I swear by those, and you know, we know how to grow them really well. I learned Hippocrates about 15 years ago from Michael, back in the day, OG of the sprout growing. And this is, I also use these OG trays. Most people use these longer ones. I like these for the sunflower and the pea. The broccoli and the radish, I'll use the traditional longer trays. As you can see here, we'll get down to that in a second. So right now, we soak the seeds for we soak them for about 8 to 10 hours. Don't over soak them, because then you'll drown them. So the sunflower have a little technique to soak them. When you put them in a bucket and you fill them with water, they'll float to the top. And then those seeds on top can dry out. So what you have to do is get a towel and then push the seeds down so the towel's wet, so it holds the seeds in the water. So the towel's over the top of the seeds, you push it down so everything's wet and it stays. The pea you don't have to do that with, because the water will cover the pea. The sunflower will float to the top. So that's the one thing. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then you could get partial germination, and it will be very sparse in the tray. Like some will germinate, some won't, and then you'll be like, what's going on with my sunflower tray? Sure. It's usually the case. So after they soak and they start to germinate, you'll just see a tiny little sprout coming out, just the tip slightly. We put it on the bed of compost, and then we cover it with another tray. So I use this tray and I put a tile on it. So it's got a nice weight on it. So it fits perfectly on the tray. So I don't have a tray with soil on it. I mean, these do. So I got 1, 2, 3
What
high.
kind of soil do you use?
Organic compost.
Okay.
Yeah. See right here, so you can see these are germinating perfectly. I'm gonna leave them for another day or two until they push this tray up.
So how many days is it usually?
Like in this situation, probably about 2 to 3.
Okay.
2 to 3, depending on the temperature in the rooms. Or obviously, if it's freezing outside, it might take a little longer. But this is the sunflower. I put the weight. The pea, it doesn't need as much, as you can see right here. Technically speaking, you could take those peas off right now and let them green up early. The difference with our sprouts and a lot of other people that grow these is they grow these peas too tall and stretchy. And then if you've ever had pea shoots in your salad and you're chewing on stems all the time, we avoid that because we let the peas green up early under the lights so they fluff up. So I'm getting more green than stem. Whereas most other people have this much stem and a little fluff at the top. That's not pleasant for salads. It's fine for juicing, but for salads, you don't want to be pulling out stems of pea shoots. Let me show you also. So the broccoli is probably the trickiest out of the 4, and it's gonna be mostly your seed and your soil. If your soil is not the right, I do not use compost for the micros. They do not work well. You need to use a fluffier potting mix, an organic potting mix. They have one for indoor at Home Depot. It's a certified organic. It's OMRI listed. You can use that one. There's a blue bag. I think I saw one on your video.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's good for the sprouts, for the sunflower and pea. But there's another one that's in a purple bag. That's for indoor potting mix. You want to find the indoor potting mix, not the indoor-outdoor, the indoor. It's fluffier, it doesn't have as many pieces in it, and the broccoli like it a lot more. The broccoli are very finicky. So if you can take a look right here, the broccoli, we just get a nice pad of this, of the longer trays, the typical ones. We fill it, you don't want to fill it all the way to the top, maybe halfway. And then we do a shake method with a little pill case, and we shake them evenly across, about 2 tablespoons per tray, I would imagine. I believe that's what it is. And then what we do is we'll shake it up. We'll water the pad first and shake it up, spread them evenly, and then we'll water them and then cover them. Typically, we just cover them like this for a couple days, and now I could let it green up from here. I'll let it go another day like that so it gets a little bit of height. And then I'll take them out and put them under the lights. So they'll go under the lights probably this afternoon or tomorrow morning.
So how long are they in the dark for?
They're in the dark for Monday. We seeded this. So we seed it Monday, Tuesday. So Monday, Tuesday, well actually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So probably 4 days, 3-4 days in the dark like this. And then tomorrow they'll get some light. The broccoli take longer than the sunflower and the pea. A little bit longer.
And the clover sprouts you do not
the radish.
You do the same way?
Yeah, pretty much, but the radish are a little bit faster.
Okay.
I don't have radish this week. I ran out of seed and I didn't get in time for the market, so I'm going to get yelled at.
And then on this side you have lights here. You have 1 row of lights.
I have lights on all these shelves. Yeah, right now it's this is where I germinate and I put I stack here and I move them over here once they're cleaned up. We put them under these lights.
Now, if somebody didn't have as much room, you did 3 trays here. Can you go as high as you want? Or
you could. I wouldn't go too high because then you're just gonna, they can handle a lot of weight, a lot more than you think. But yeah, I wouldn't go more than 3 or 4. I know that you can, but I don't like to go more than 3 or 4 because then if there's a problem, you can't, like it's hard to water. And then you have, you know what I mean? Like you have to take every single tray off to water.
At that point?
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to water them every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you want to. You don't have to heavy water, but you don't want the seeds to dry out. You want to mist them, so you can mist them or do a quick little water. So, a lazy man's way of doing it is to do it like this: lift it up and then water. But you have to make sure you get to the back. You go like that, lift up, water, and then like that. That's the lazy way to do it. The real way to do it is to take each tray, water it properly, and then put it back.
You can imagine I've interviewed and consulted with several people on how to do this, and they all do it a little bit different.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and including myself. Maybe the environment changes because my house is really humid and hot.
Yeah, you don't want to overwater them when they're in that, but you don't want them to dry out either.
It's
So,
interesting.
so long as the compost is wet, if the compost is wet and it holds moisture well, it also depends on your growing medium. So if you have a compost or you have a soil that dries out faster, you're gonna have to water more often.
That'll determine it.
So I don't know what you're using. So
because online, several of the people say, and cover it and don't touch it for 3 days. Don't water
well,
anything.
what are they
What
using?
are they using? So yeah.
What are they using? Now, when you do the broccoli, it's a different ball game. So the broccoli and they're two different mediums. So I'm growing in rich compost here, black, nice, rich compost, and here I'm using more of a potting mix. Has a little perlite, vermiculite in it, so it dries out faster. This one holds its water better than the potting mix. So the potting mix we water. So once it gets to this point, so we top water on this first until it gets to this point. Now, when we take the top off and we put it under the lights, then we'll use this, flip it, and this will sit in here, and then we'll water inside this tray. This tray, we'll just put a little bit of water, just a very thin layer, and then put it on top so that it waters from the bottom. Broccoli, you cannot water from the top when they start getting bigger, because then they'll just lay flat and then they'll decay and get mold and then die on you. So it's important to bottom water your broccoli and your radish once you let them green up.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're going to have problems with them hitting falling over.
What I found, and my issue was on the sunflower, is they were falling over. And from what I figured it out for me, from my situation was, I was watering twice a day, bottom tray, and for me, I realized that wasn't enough. Whenever it's dry, I have to put water in the tray, and it's been done the trick.
Yeah. That's what you gotta do. I mean, I always check the bottom tray. You don't want it water. You don't want it full all the time. No. You want it moist or just a little bit of.
Whenever it's dry, I put the water in.
But how much? Whenever it's dry?
Yeah, a cup.
That's fine.
That's fine. It's working. And also another thing that works, sometimes it will get mold. Now I started using fans, took care of the problem.
Fans will definitely, airflow is huge with broccoli, but also you might be giving it too much water. So the water shouldn't be, like, if you put water in there and you come back 2 hours later and you still have a huge puddle of water under there, you've got too much. You want it to suck it up and have a little bit of moisture. It's a little bit runny, but you don't want it to be floating in water. Exactly. That's how you'll get fungus.
Exactly. What I found is, for me is, I use these trays. When I water it, put the tray down. As long as water doesn't come out, it's enough. If water comes out, then you've done too much.
Yes, yeah. But at first, water is going to come out. Give it 20 minutes or so to suck it up. Once you can see the soil is completely wet, and then if you pour it and you've got a crap load of water coming out, it's too much water. So pour that out. It should be wet, but not a lot in the tray there.
Interesting how everyone has a little different way.
Well, broccoli can be tricky if you don't get it just right.
And that's what it takes. Keep trying to see what works best for your environment.
Yeah, but if we're all using the same mediums and stuff like that, there would be one simple rule. But when everyone's using, I'm using this soil, I'm using this, I'm using this.
What are you using for the broccoli?
I'm using I'll show it to you. She's got her broccoli sprouts right now. She's basically letting them dry right now.
Now I have another friend that does everything outside.
Well, I don't do everything outside. I harvest outside because they don't dry inside very well. So we have this little fan system, so I can turn this on. But the broccoli is so delicate, I don't even need to turn the fans on. That's more for the sunflower.
So this is your broccoli.
This is some of the broccoli. Yeah, it's not bad. It's a little leggy, but it's nice. It's people like it. And then these are our sunnies. You notice our sunflower are they're not as tall, and they green up a lot more. And
you put them under the light sooner?
Yeah, I just let them grow. I give them lights earlier and not try to. I don't like sunnies this long with a tiny little cap. I like them more green on the top.
Oh.
And our customers do too, so that's why we do them like that.
So you're going to show us the soil and the broccoli. Is that out here or somewhere else?
This one right here. This is the one.
Okay, so that's what you use for the broccoli.
That is what I find to work the best for the broccoli. See, it's an indoor potting mix. It is Army listed. It is certified organic, Army listed, and I find this mix to be. It doesn't have, if you look in here, it's a lot of peat moss, but you see they don't have big pieces of wood and chunks in here, which is better for the broccoli because the broccoli seeds are so small. Now you can use the blue one. You can use the blue one. They have another one like this at Home Depot.
I use the blue one.
That's good for the sunflower and the pea. The broccoli is going to be okay, but they have too many big chunks in there. It covers the seeds, so it's not as. You want it finer. This is just finer.
So in my experience, where do you get that, by the way?
Home Depot.
Home Depot.
Yeah, it's basically all it does is it gives you more forgiveness.
Yeah.
When you use the right stuff, you can make more errors and get away with it.
All right, everybody. That was my friend Joseph at Gratitude Farms. I'll put that link below. They sell sprouts at local farmers markets, and they have an amazing produce stand, and they're just an amazing place. I did other videos with them as well. Here is what I've been using for my sunflower and my pea sprouts. And as you can see here, this is a potting soil for indoor and outdoor. And I got this at Home Depot. Now I've also used just plain topsoil, and that's done well also. And like I mentioned, there's a local store here called Got Sprouts, and they use the topsoil. And so does my friend who has a business. He uses just topsoil. But I started using the pot and mix, and that's what I've been using. Now, I learned something from Joseph in the last segment about the broccoli sprouts and the radish sprouts. He doesn't use the indoor-outdoor potting mix. He uses this one. This is an all-natural indoor potting mix. And since the broccoli sprouts and also the radish sprouts are a little bit more delicate, it's the same soil, but it's not as clumpy. It's more fine. So that's the one he uses, and they currently have that at Home Depot near me, and that's purple, where the other one was blue. But again, you don't have to use these two. The regular topsoil is good enough, and that's what my friend's been using. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll do more videos about microgreens and sprouting. Thank you to Joseph at Gratitude Farms as well. And everybody, thank you for watching. Get those sprouts in your diet. Get those microgreens in your diet. To me, it's a game changer. You don't need land to grow food. All right? All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a great day and a great raw life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.